Meet Robert, born and raised in Hong Kong to British parents who moved from Scotland 4 years ago. He's now been living in Shenzhen, China for 3 years, running a manufacturing business. Robert revealed the truth about China's social credit system, the hidden risks of becoming too wealthy in China. I'm Chernov, your insider to expat life. Doba.
What happened if we cross the road on the red light? Your social score will go down?
Oh yeah, you're screwed. Yeah, there's no recovering from
recovery,
that.
yeah.
No. All right, let's do it.
Some people in the comments, they send this question, okay, it's like in a Black Mirror, right, in China. So you cross the road, then you minus points, you do something like not supposed to do, minus points, and then you're screwed.
Yeah.
Is it like, is the system actually exist, like social score system?
Look, this guy, I don't think he's worrying about it too much.
No.
No. In terms of a foreigner who lives here, I have a credit system.
Yeah.
I'm actually I'm only rated as a B class foreigner.
Oh, you know,
There's like
you know
A,
your
B,
rating.
C. Yeah.
Oh, how you know it? You can go some website?
No, when I apply for my visa. Because I apply for my working visa. Sorry, we're going to get run over by this guy who's delivering some noodles.
That's the thing.
Yeah. So when you apply for a visa, you have to put your working history, your school, and everything, you know, and so you have your record of your CV basically on your visa. It happens, I think, probably in most places where you apply for a working position.
For sure.
And so they rank you A, B, C, D, E.
Yeah.
If you're A, you're obviously highest priority. B, C. And basically, A is you have to have had 10 years of work experience in a Fortune 500 company, or you have a PhD in a certain area.
Yeah.
I have done neither of those things. My Chinese is at a certain level.
Yeah.
I also have certain work experience, and I got an undergraduate degree, so that means that I'm a B. So that's kind of like the foreigner social credit system. But the thing is, I'd be surprised if countries do not have that.
No, it's actually, after you explain it, it's not that scary. I mean, if you, for example, if you want to immigrate to Australia, basically you need to get to like some number of points, and it's like based on your education, based on your ageism, based on your like level of English. So it basically they score you as well as a foreigner. If you want to be in the country, they score you.
I'd be surprised if there's a country that did not do that. And if there was a country which opened its borders to anyone.
Just come,
just come. And China they've been doing it how I think, kind of the model, I think, for many countries should follow in terms of their immigration policy. Because most foreigners, they come here and they're of a certain education class, you know, they obviously don't have a criminal record. They're coming to become a sort of a participating part of the society. And so I think it's actually kind of a model system that they should use and maybe adopt in some other parts of the world. I was speaking to some guy, a billionaire, and he told me, Chinese billionaire, and he told me, you know, in China, 2 billion is a good amount of billion to have. I said, oh, why?
Okay.
Why not 3 million? Why not 3 billion? Why not 4 billion?
Stick out.
Exactly. He's like, you know, after 2 billion, they start asking questions. I was like, oh, okay, well, I'll keep that in mind.
It's kind of similar in Russia. Maybe the threshold is different.
Oh, really?
But like, you're free to make money until you start getting like either government projects or you become like too rich or too big in the size, then they'll have questions to you. Until that, so I don't know which threshold right now, but until that, you're fine. When you cross this threshold, there are questions.
Yeah, then you know you have like a target.
You can be too influential or too rich.
Yeah,
and then people want your money.
And even if you have less than that, if you still go around like, oh, you know, I'm the king of the castle, you know, then like kind of like what Jack Ma was doing. When he was on his rise, he tried to launch Ant Group, which was like an investment company which would be attached to Alibaba. As soon as he did that, he was on all of these panel shows with Elon Musk, and he was traveling the world, kind of like acting like he kind of owned China. And the government basically said, no, you're getting way too powerful and you're kind of sticking your neck out. You need to reel it back in. And so he basically then went silent. So they kind of, they silenced him for a few years. He's now back in the public eye, but he's much more cautious, exactly, with how he approaches things.
Do you come here often?
I do actually.
Yeah.
Live very close by. And 你好，喝咖啡？就是66楼。好，
走没电梯，你上到60，这边请。
好，谢谢。It's just got a fantastic cafe and great views. 10-year plan. 好，谢谢，可以了。
Okay.
然后吃大条8吃。好。或者是什么餐厅都可以。
好像我们在这边吃吧。好，谢谢。我们要过一下，看一下那个房间。好。
你要看房间？
不，风景。
风景 OK。
对，好，谢谢。He's very kind. All right, so it's a bit of a hazy day.
It's a bit foggy, yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Wow.
But you do get a pretty good feel for it.
Oh, that's fantastic.
That's Hong Kong.
That's Hong Kong.
Yeah,
oh, really?
Yeah. And you see these trestles? They're floating oyster farms.
Oyster farms.
Yeah, for all the oyster sauce.
Nice. What do you think the biggest misconceptions in the West about China? What do you think people don't get about the country?
I think they at least used to have this perspective that China was so far back that it was really a developing country. It technically still is a developing country. It's hard to believe when you see cities like this that it's still technically a developing country.
Like developing economy.
Developing economy. But that's solely related to like GDP and earning potential. And it makes sense when you get out of the huge cities and you really kind of go into the countryside of China. It really does feel like a completely different country. You go from, EV metropolis, tech drone deliveries to, people plowing fields with water buffalo. And you can get that quite quickly, just sort of 4 hours north of here. I think people's misconception is how developed China actually is, how far along China has come.
These days I try to keep things safe, so I finally installed something on my phone that helps protect me online. It's a VPN called Surfshark, and it basically acts like a secure tunnel for your internet traffic. So whether I'm on public Wi-Fi or logging into my bank while I'm abroad, I know my data is protected. Plus, it unlocks access to content that's not available in some countries, which is super helpful when I'm traveling and still want to catch up on my favorite websites. And here's a cool bonus. Surfshark can help you find better deals when shopping online, because prices can change depending on your location. Voila! If you want to try it out, there is a 30-day money-back guarantee, 24/7 support, and I've got a special link for you. Just head to surfshark.com/Chernov and use my code Chernov to get 4 extra months for free. Thanks to Surfshark for supporting this video, and now let's get back to it.
What people say about China, I think the biggest, it's not, I wouldn't call it misconception, but there is no democracy, and like that's what people argue about. I talked to some foreigners living in China that, there is probably no democracy or lack of democracy, but there is some democracy on like a lower level, like the city-state level and stuff. And also because they done so well economically for the last 20 years, people don't want to mess with this democracy. We're happy how things work here and we don't want to spoil it. What's your takes? What's your thoughts on it?
I feel like I have a lot of freedoms here that I wouldn't have in other countries.
Like what?
Like, for example, my wife, she can walk home in the middle of the night at 3 a.m. after having a few drinks with her friends in the middle of the city and be completely 100% safe.
Yeah.
And I have the freedom to go to bed and not worry about her safety.
Yeah.
Because it's extremely safe here. And there's, the amount of crime is so low. This gives you certain freedoms. Whereas, maybe in a place like London, you wouldn't be able to do that.
Yeah.
Especially in certain parts. So that's definitely something that you kind of take for granted when you're here. And when you go back, you kind of think, wow, oh my God, how good did I have it? And so, yeah, so I guess freedom is can be viewed in a few different ways. In terms of democracy, I think, as we were saying, as in America or in the UK, people are basically fighting for the next election. How do I stay in power? Instead of developing sort of like a long-term plan. In cities like Shenzhen, it's not very representative of the rest of China. The rest of China, it's not like this. This is China's future. It's kind of peering deep into China's future. And so what's happening in the rest of China is very difficult to kind of explain unless you actually go and sort of see it for yourself.
Yeah.
And it's very different.
It's a huge country.
It's a huge country.
Yeah.
It's enormous. It's like 8 countries put together.
Yeah.
There's such different cultures from different provinces, and so it's very difficult to bundle Chinese people all together.
Yeah.
Because they don't really share a lot of they share similar values, but they don't necessarily share similar opinions about everything, and it's very different. And so I guess like democratically, from a thought perspective, it's very different. Like people in different provinces think very differently to people in other provinces, and you kind of saw that coming out during the COVID pandemic. Different provinces, basically,
different lockdowns.
They took a different approach to how to deal with it. For example, Shenzhen, it was like lockdown, everyone inside. Whereas Guangzhou, just literally 100 kilometers away, they were like, lockdown, what are you talking about? We're not locking down.
I think that what probably people don't get about China in the West, they think about China as like one unified country, like same people, super controlled, everybody just obey. But it's so diverse and people don't realize it. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Super diverse, different cultures within the country, 100%. I mean, just look at Shenzhen, for example. People here, the mindset is completely different to people in, let's say, Sichuan or Chengdu.
Yeah.
I remember, like, people in Chengdu are very laid back, very relaxed.
Yeah.
They don't work hard. Well, I mean, I think they work hard, but they don't work like they do in Shenzhen. And when you go on holiday to places like Chengdu or Chongqing, it's a completely different China. And and the people there are very, they have different kind of values, and the same in so many other provinces as well.
If you had a chance to change something or to implement something that China is doing here in Britain, what would be your, like, I don't know, if you consulted the government, let's say, or someone who make decisions in Britain, what would be your, like, advice?
Make it easy and cheap for people to start companies and start producing. The thing that China's done extremely well, as well, is they've made energy incredibly cheap. Energy, we run a factory and we have a production line, and the amount of energy that it costs for us to run our production line is like 1/10 of what it would cost in the UK. And so if you reduce the cost of energy, then you increase production, because people, energy equals output in so many ways. Unfortunately, the UK are kind of going in an opposite direction. They don't want to produce nuclear power plants. They don't want to drill for oil. They don't want to they are trying to replace all of that with solar and wind, but unfortunately those are two very variable and I don't think sustainable. And so I think the UK really need to reassess their approach to energy. And then also, I think they need to reassess their approach to helping people start production businesses. This is the complex that I live in. And this is the golf course that I am not allowed to play in.
Why? The membership fee?
It's very expensive.
Yeah. How much is it?
The joining fee will be something like, I don't know, 600K.
Which is?
Let's say like 100K US.
Wow. Yeah.
I don't even know if that's true, but
but it could be true. In Singapore,
I
think the most expensive golf like membership costs you like few $100,000 to join.
Exactly. It's just a joining fee. And it might not even be forever. It's like only for 10 years or something. It's like a 10-year joining fee. So that's the same as this. You can go to the driving range, which is fun though. I go to the driving range, and,
nice.
which is just down there.
Nice.
But funnily enough, this is leased from the government, and in 10 years' time, they're about to get rid of the contract. And so I think they're going to turn half of this golf course into a public park, which will then kind of... Because it is a bit strange. I mean...
Because it's a huge piece of land.
Huge
and
piece of land.
People not allowed to
and it's
there.
Just, it's the rich and wealthy who get to use it. And it's right in the middle, and you can see all of this residential around. And
Without someone who knows Chinese really well, I would never discovered so many amazing places, or I would have spent a ton of time just trying. Every foreigner who comes to China usually faces two problems. I don't speak Chinese, and China is huge. Where to start? Well, now I know the answer, with the help of the AI guide to Google. They're supporting today's video, and I'm happy to tell you more about it. It's a Chinese app that knows China inside out, and can be your pocket guide wherever you go, basically. Actually, not just China, I've tried it in Singapore too, and it works. If you're not sure where to go, use the featured button. It shows what different cities have to offer. If you're already traveling around China, tap the discovery button. It uses GPS to find interesting places near you. Just choose wherever catches your eye, and the app will give you detailed information. If you already know your destination, just tell the app. It will create a personalized plan based on your interests and needs. It's super cool. And my favorite thing is a scan relic function. Take a photo of something weird around you, and the app will instantly tell you what it is. And if you've taken some photos of yourself, the app can help with that too. It can basically remove all the people from the background, and no human guide can do that kind of magic. Even the free version of the app is really useful. It can help you understand what you're seeing in famous museums like the Palace Museum in Beijing and the Shanghai Museum, again for free. No matter where you're from, to Google is the key to understanding Chinese culture. To start, just click the link in description.
China is quite difficult if you don't speak the language. And I'm lucky that I speak it up to a certain level. And I'm also lucky that I have fantastic business partners and people who we complement each other's skills. So if you don't understand China, and if you don't understand how to set a business up, go through the process, get on all of the applications, which are all in Chinese, if you can't read Chinese, then it can be very difficult, and it can be it's quite a big barrier to entry. So I understand why people wouldn't do it, and to be honest, I wouldn't want to do it again. I could.
You mean go from scratch, like setting up everything?
Yes, yeah. If I knew it would have been this difficult, I probably would have never done it.
Like you mean a paperwork for a business, or what? Or you mean what?
Yeah. Paperwork for the business, getting over all of the hurdles, registering at the bank, and the visa application. And for my visa application, I was in the visa office. Well, sorry, at the civic center, the Shimin Zhongxin, for 7 hours that day. And then they said, we're going to send some officers around to your house just to prove that you do live here and you are starting this business. And I said, okay, when are they coming? They said, anytime between now and the next 60 days. What? Wait, so you're not going to tell me when? And guess which day they arrived?
Next day.
Day 60. Day 60. So I was in my apartment from, I couldn't leave, basically.
Crazy.
And then they came, and then they sat down on my sofa, and they interviewed me, and they wanted to see everything that I was doing and learn about my business. And
it's because you're a foreigner.
It's because I'm a foreigner, and I think it's also because other people have taken advantage of the system in the past. And so now they've kind of put some quite strong systems in place so that people don't just start a business so that they can, like a shell company or something like that, where they can just, transfer money through or something. So,
and in Hong Kong is much easier for the paperwork and stuff.
Well, it's in English, so
it's all in English.
Yeah, it can be either.
It can be either.
Yeah, it can be either. So You're seeing more and more Mandarin in Hong Kong business and working environments now. But the main business language in Hong Kong is mostly English. Yeah, still. How long that's going to last, I wonder.
Yeah.
But the majority of Hong Kongers, at least my generation, they all speak very, very, very good English, which is completely different to mainland China.
Do you have many local friends, like Chinese friends from China?
I do, yeah. In China, a lot of people have make friends through work and study.
Yeah.
And so at least that's what I see the most in Shenzhen.
Yeah.
Most of my Chinese friends in Shenzhen are my colleagues. And then I have a few friends from Beijing who have actually recently moved to Shenzhen.
Yeah.
Chinese people. And yeah, and they're really nice. But I think for the most part, my group of friends are quite Western. Well, at least even if they're Chinese, they're quite sort of Western, you could say mindset, or you could say internationalized kind of people. They've either been to university abroad, or they work for an international company, or they speak good English.
Hey guys, just a quick announcement, don't skip. I'll be running a 3-day workshop called Fast Track to Views and Profits on YouTube. If you ever wanted to start your own channel, this is the best way to do it. You will learn how to choose the most profitable niche and how to beat the YouTube algorithm. You're gonna love it, I promise. Link in description, so sign up if it's for you. And now back to the video.
What I like about Chinese cities, they're very walkable compared to Southeast Asia. Generally, like Singapore is also walkable, though it's hot.
Yeah.
But in the morning and after 4 p.m, it's like enjoyable as well.
It's one of those sort of like urban planning things. Shenzhen is just it's like the model city, you know. If you get like a ton of people who really know how to build a city.
Yeah.
You get them together and this is what you get.
Yeah.
The subway system is amazing. I got friends who live actually very close to here. They've been here in Shenzhen for over 20 years. They were here when the subway only had one line. In the last 10 years, they've built like 14 lines, or maybe even more than that.
Yeah.
But it's ridiculous, the amount that it's grown.
Hello, 你好。
师傅是香格里拉南山。
南山香格里拉是吧？
对，谢谢。In 2009, the Shenzhen government decided to completely electrify all of its public transportation on the roads. So they redid all of the buses, all of the taxis, all huge.
2009.
2009. They decided to start in 2009, and so. That was kind of like the initial uprising of the Chinese electric vehicle market.
Yeah.
It was kind of this all of these huge government contracts, which they gave to companies like BYD. Easily one of the main reasons why the market is, I guess the global market is so dominated by Chinese EV companies. All of the EV companies in China are very heavily subsidized. The suppliers are subsidized. And also the buyers are also subsidized. You actually get subsidies as a purchaser of EVs in China, which and so I mean the whole EV market in general is a complete kind of masterclass in how to dominate a global industry. China basically looked at the internal combustion engine market and they said, we won't be able to compete in this. We'll be able to compete, but we won't be able to. Really kind of dominate.
Yeah.
But what we could probably do is get very good, we could compete with electric vehicles. And so they then started creating electric vehicle companies. They then the government then gave loads of subsidies. So they would give lots of really low, cheap land leases for EV companies. They would subsidize them. They would give them. They would make it easier for them to get loans from banks.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, it was very, very easy for a car company to basically start their EV production. And then, I mean, just look around. Like, look at all of the taxis. The governments then said, okay, we're going to give you an entire market so you can then sell to the local governments for taxis and public transport. So they didn't have to actually go out and market that much.
In Shenzhen it started in Shenzhen.
Yeah.
But then it spread.
But now it's spreading everywhere. I just love what China has done in terms of capturing the EV market. You know that they have gone around the world and purchased all of the lithium, cobalt, and nickel mines basically in the entire world. They own over 50% of all of these mines. So they're controlling the supply chain. And so that's how they're developing EVs so quickly. Even Tesla, when they they have huge factories in China. When they create a Tesla in China, Chinese government passed a law saying that Tesla batteries have to be Chinese technology.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they cannot produce here. And so all EVs across the world, something like 60% of them are using Chinese battery technology.
Yeah.
And so because they did this, they now dominate the supply.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like a masterclass.
I guess they have very strategic vision and like long-term thinking.
Yes.
Which is a bit lacking, I think, in some countries. And in Singapore also, the government have this project for like the next like 50, 70 years in the future. But I don't think most of the countries have it. They try to survive at the moment and like win the next election within the next like 3-4 years, this kind of stuff. Yeah. But in China it's different.
Yeah. How do you win votes? It's a big. It consumes everyone's energy, and it consumes everyone's productive energy. If you want to be very productive in the long term, you have to set out a long-term vision and not basically fight over what's happening right now. People are young in Shenzhen. There's a very young average age. It's like 32 years old.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm older than the average person in Shenzhen.
Yeah, it's very young.
Very young. Yeah. It's
because
a young
China
city.
average, I think, 39 or 40, something like that ish.
And it's
China
rising
average.
every year. Yeah.
Yeah.
But in Shenzhen, people come here to, like fatai, make their fortune, and so they come here to work. And so that's, I think, is probably one of the biggest differences between Beijing and Shenzhen. Beijing, they're, like Lao Beijing Ren, they have people who are from Beijing and
they're proud of it.
Very proud of it.
Yeah.
Shenzhen, of course, you have people from Shenzhen, but there's far fewer of them. Most people who have moved to Shenzhen are first generation. And they're coming here, to work. And so, unfortunately, that it doesn't create this wholesome feel to the city as much as I felt when I was in Beijing. When you were in Beijing,
it's more raw.
Yes,
more
you're
organic.
Walking through the hutongs, and you're making you're bumping shoulders with people, and everyone's super proud to be from Beijing. And obviously, I think people are proud to be from Shenzhen, but it's harder to connect with people, I think.
It's hard
here.
to connect there.
Yeah,
because here is like an immigrant society, kind of.
Exactly. First generation. People are hustling here.
Yeah.
Everyone's really working hard. No one has any time for chit chat.
Yeah.
You kind of, when you get on the subway, everyone's on their phone.
Yeah.
And it can get a bit. I kind of refer to Shenzhen as like a city of the future.
Yeah.
Which is very cool, but it has its, everything has its benefits and its drawbacks. And I think, I kind of like places with history and things like that.
Yeah.
But as a place to do, as a place to do business and work, it's fantastic. Incredibly efficient. Lots of subsidies for young startup companies. And things like cheap leases for rents, for office spaces and things like that.
Hey, I've launched this Telegram channel where I'll be sharing insights from my guests, travel tips around Asia, and also my thoughts about YouTube, marketing, business, and even life. It will be cozy, personal, and free of charge. So join me, just scan this QR code on the screen or click the link in description, and I'll see you there.
I love the train stations in China. It's so cool. So impressive.
They're unbelievable. This Futian station is actually it's insane. In the summer, it gets so hot in Shenzhen that you can't, when you walk around the streets, people aren't actually on the streets. It's an empty city. Everyone's underground in this area because this is the train station. It also connects with 4 different subway lines. And so you can walk 2 kilometers that way, 2 kilometers that way, all underground, so all in the AC. And
Wow.
that's, yeah, so.
Yeah, it's massive. It's not super crowded compared to Guangzhou South Station. This one is quite empty.
That's a nightmare.
Yeah, Guangzhou is like, it's huge, massive, lots of people.
Yeah, Futian is it's quite a quiet station.
Yeah.
There's Shenzhen North, Shenzhen Shenzhen Station, Shenzhen North Station.
Yeah.
Those are much bigger and much more popular.
Yeah.
This I think only literally has like four lines.
4 lines.
Yeah. But it's cool. You step out and boom, you're right in the center.
Yeah, man. I love it.
I think the Ping An will be like right there. Oh yeah, there it is.
Pinyan is what? It's a tower.
Ping An, yeah. So
one. This building.
the big one. Yeah.
You as a foreigner, did you get any like preferences or subsidies to start your business?
I did actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got some excellent tax breaks because I, at the first couple of years that the first 2 years of starting my business, I basically don't have to pay any business tax.
Okay.
I just have to pay personal income tax.
Yeah.
And that was fantastic. And then I also got a subsidy for my office rental.
Nice.
And so I basically had to pay far below.
The mountains just nearby. It's so cool.
Yeah.
I love it.
And this, oh no, it's the one over there. There's a building over there which is designed by very famous architect,
Yeah.
Zaha Hadid. If you know.
I know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. So there is no like one center or in Shenzhen?
No.
No.
No. It's very spread out.
Spread out,
And
yeah.
there's quite a few different ones. Some of the newest parts of the city are just beyond this row of buildings here. So this row of buildings is called High Tech Park, and you have all of the big new Chinese tech companies all have massive headquarters here.
Yeah.
So there's a ByteDance headquarters, which is right there. You can see the ByteDance logo.
Yes.
Then there's a Tencent headquarters there. There's an Alibaba headquarters, Lenovo. All of the big tech companies. It's called the Chinese Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
And so they all come here, and it's rated a very good place for for a tech billionaire to come.
Yeah. But DJI is here as well, or no?
Yeah, they're in the north of the city.
Yeah.
They're a bit further out.
Yeah.
But I've never been to their campus, but I'm sure it'll be fantastic.
I'm a big fan of DJI.
Yeah, as I could tell.
Send me an email.
Yeah, I know. Let's get some sponsorship up in here.